Welcome to the Build Idaho Home Buyer's Guide. This is what it looks like working with a Build Idaho agent. Prepare to be moved. So this first page, it's all about you. So I just want to sit down with you and understand your timeline, understand your needs, the things that are important to you in buying a home, and the things that you're looking for in the features of a property even before we get started. This will give both of us some clarity on the timeline that you are willing to work with and the things that need to happen along the way. So this next page talks about Build Idaho as a company. We've actually helped over 1,000 buyers and sellers with properties, and this gives you some of the reviews of people that we've worked with that have had a phenomenal experience, and we just want to ensure that you have a similar experience and you know what to expect along the way. So this next page actually talks about the median home price. So this shows a 10-year graph of home values. And why home values is so important is because if you follow this chart right here, it shows you how home values have either increased or decreased over a 10-year period. And what that does is that actually builds equity in our property. So if we bought in let's say 2017, and then we do the math of the increase or the decrease in percentages, we can see that over time, we start to build equity, which means if we bought a $500,000 home and then we increased it by about 70-something%, our home value would increase to about over $800,000. So that's where that math comes in. And what that means is that we talk a lot about home ownership benefits and we talk about equity. And a lot of people don't understand what equity is or how we use that. And the average homeowner lives in their home from about 5 to 7 years. And so as we build that equity over time, right, that $500,000 home became an $800-and-something-thousand home, you can actually use that equity to borrow against your property for improvements. You can pay off loans or debts, or you can also borrow against it to be able to buy an investment property or maybe a home up in the mountains. So it gives you that ability, and that's where we talk about net worth. So the average net worth of a renter is $5,000. And the average net worth of a homeowner is $230,000. And the way that that's built is through equity and home ownership. So the other benefits to having a mortgage are tax benefits. So we get tax benefits by writing off those interest payments on our mortgage. We can also write off improvements and things that we do in our home over time. So those are great benefits as a homeowner. The next part talks about finding your next home. So I'd love to be able to talk to you about your home search. You've probably been driving around town seeing for sale by owners. If you are interested in a for sale by owner, please send me a picture of it. You can just text it to me of the property address and also the contact information so I can reach out to them. And that way I can see if they're interested in showing the home. I'd love to be able to do some market research on where they came up with their pricing and have understanding as to is it comparable in the market. Also, there's off-market homes. So you may want to live in a certain neighborhood or a school district and there's nothing available on the market that meets your needs. If I have an understanding of what you want, I'm happy to go out and door knock or call around neighborhoods and circle prospect and find homeowners that have a home that meets your criteria and schedule a showing and see if they'd be interested in potentially selling their home to you. Next part is actively listed properties. So I'm going to put you up on a custom home search. You've already been receiving some properties through my email, but that are right when they hit the MLS. So if there's a home that hits the MLS and it has the criteria that you want in a home, like beds and bath and amenities or maybe a yard size, those drop right into your email right as they hit the market. And then that way you can interact with me and say, hey Brooke, this is the one, I want to go see it. So we can go out and take a look at that property. And then the next one talks about new construction. So as you've been driving around the valley, you've probably seen we have a lot of new construction. I'd love to be able to get you registered with that builder or that community before you go out and look at properties so that you can enjoy viewing the properties and you don't have to worry about being hounded for representation, or you have an agent and you can fully experience that, and I can go out and meet you if you want me to. The next part talks about buildidaho.com, and you've actively been receiving properties from me. The value of that is that you're searching on my website and we can actually interact on the back end. So if there's a property that you favorite or you have questions about a specific property, or maybe there's some HOA information that you want, let's say you want some chickens in your backyard and you want to know if the neighborhood allows it. I can actually go in and do the research and find the information out for you. And that way when we're ready to start looking at homes, I have an idea of exactly what you want to take a look at, and I can schedule that showing based on the things that you really like. So let's talk a little bit about the housing market. So a seller's market, that's a low supply of homes and high purchase prices. A buyer's market is a high supply of homes and lower purchase prices. We're actually in a very balanced market right now, which means that some neighborhoods differentiate from others. So that allows me to look at the market and say, hey, do we need to come in with a really strong offer because there's not a lot of options in this neighborhood, or is there a variety and we have some more flexibility with our offers? So that's really important for us to understand how supply and demand work as we navigate through the market, but more importantly, as we make aggressive offers on the property that you want. So the Build Idaho experience, this is my favorite part. I'm actually part of the Build Idaho team, which means that when we get an offer accepted, we have a transaction coordinator that's working for you. That transaction coordinator is looking at all the timelines and all the commitments that are made in the contract, and they're working together with everyone to make sure that we close on time. So they're going to be asking for documentation, working with your lender, coordinating with title. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all this. I'm going to walk you through it in just a minute, but what I want you to know is that we're here to support you all along the way. So let's talk about the buying process. The first thing that happens is we prepare our finances. That's where you start looking at your credit score and your financial health, and that's where we look at assets, debts, and being prepared to really step into this journey together and make sure that we're financially sound. And so just to give you an idea, you need to have a savings of about 1% earnest money. So what that means is if we're looking at a $500,000 property, we need to be prepared to come in with a $5,000 earnest money check that says, I am serious about buying this property. I'm going to put this money towards my purchase, and then they're going to hold it in escrow so that it goes towards your closing costs. So you're not paying it up front, and I'll walk you through how all of that works later on. The next thing is about 1% for closing costs, and then we have our down payment. So the next part, we talk about getting pre-approved for a mortgage. If you haven't met with a lender already, I have a few great ones that I can refer you to. The most important thing with sitting with the lender is understanding affordability. We want to know exactly what price range you want to be in the homes that you want to be looking at, and that has to do with your monthly payments and your comfort with your finances, right? Like sometimes we can qualify for homes that maybe we don't want to change our entire lifestyle, or maybe we want to go really big and we want to know what that looks like to afford it. So that's the first step, is talking with the lender. And then just to kind of get you ready for that, if we're going to be doing an all cash offer, we will need to have proof of funds. And then the documents that you're going to need with that lender is 2 months of bank statements or 2 years of W-2s if you're self-employed, and then tax returns, personal business stubs, pay stubs. All those things are really important to just get you prepared for that conversation with the lender. The next part is finding a real estate agent at buildidaho.com. The great thing is that we've already found each other, so you don't have to vet another agent, but I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with you. I want you to begin your search with Build Idaho. That's where we start setting up properties. I'm going to be checking in with you every week. I'm going to be asking you about some of the properties that you're seeing. I want you to be really honest with me. The things that you like, the things that you don't like. We want to make modifications on that search. There's over 5,000 homes on the market right now. I want to be able to help you filter out so that you're looking at the things that specifically meet your needs and the lifestyle that you want. When we go out and look at properties, I'm going to schedule some showings based on the feedback that you gave me and the homes that you picked out. When we find the right one, we'll know it's the right one. And then we get ready to make an offer. Now, based on the market, whether it's a buyer's or a seller's market and how things are working, that's when we decide the offer that we're going to make. We're going to come in with a fair price based on the data and how the market's moving. And then we write up an offer that's the timeline and with the earnest money, and also that meets the needs of you and your family. So once we do that and we get our offer accepted, the next thing that happens is we order a home inspection. That's when we hire a professional home inspector to come out and identify all the things about the property, good and bad. Like they give us a really big sheet, and that's when we talk about, like, is this the home for us? Are there any repairs or any requests that we want made? And do we feel good about moving forward with this transaction? We can request repairs or modifications. If it's a new home, we can have things changed within reason. And if we don't feel good about it, then we actually cancel our contract, we walk away from the transaction, and we get our earnest money back. If we feel good about it and all the repairs are made and we put all the requests in, then the next thing that happens is we agree to move forward with the transaction, and that's when the appraisal's ordered, and that's when your lender actually starts securing all your finances. What that means is that everything that we turned in before, they're probably going to ask for again. They'll verify your employment. They're just going to make sure that everything's comfortable with you agreeing to commit to this 20 or 30-year mortgage that you have decided upon. And then the next thing that we do is we get our homeowner's insurance, and we start to line up everything for closing, and then we have the close of the sale. That's where we go to the title company, we sign all of our documentation saying, yes, I do want to purchase this property, I understand what my payments are, I have all my lending in place, or I have all my cash ready to go, and then we take care of the closing. The next thing that happens is it funds and records with the county, and then we get our keys, and then we get to celebrate your new home. Once we're accepted and in contract, like we said, these are a few tips for success. So first and foremost, remain employed with your current job. Wait to purchase any additional vehicles. Avoid excessive use of credit cards, canceling cards, or falling behind on payments. Refrain from making any significant deposits or withdrawals without consulting your loan officer first. Like, talk to them about your money along the way. Be sure to include all debts and financial liabilities in your loan application. Do not pull multiple credit inquiries. Do not use credit card to purchase furniture or pull out credit. Refrain from using the funds that you've allocated for closing costs, and maintain the same bank accounts. And avoid being a co-signer on any loan. So I know that these seem silly, but I've seen a lot of them along the way. The most important thing is to be able to talk to your lender about your finances. Keep in mind that we're putting together a loan package that you're going to be able to pay for many years to come, and they want to make sure that we're financially sound and that we can keep our commitments and being able to keep our home. So this last part, I just want to open up some space for you to be able to ask questions about all the information that we've talked about today. I don't want you to feel rushed about your timeline. Regardless of your timeline, I want to work with you, and I look forward to helping you find your next home. Thank you for watching the Build Idaho Homebuyer's Guide. If you would like to download our Homebuyer's Guide, you'd like to connect with a Build Idaho agent, or attend our in-person homebuyer seminar, click in the link in the captions below.